If there were this length of scholarship in Ebonics, then this wouldn't be an issue. The fact is there isn't, and this is one of the reasons why black literacy lags behind in this nation. So you're advocating for a policy in order to solve a gap that by its very nature will lead to greater gaps in the future. And
hey, all the successful people are talking and acting in some specific way, people are going to imitate that. So if you say being successful, I'm going to talk in a way that's anti-success, well, guess what? You're preparing yourself for failure. Okay?
Yes.
Why are we doing this? This is so stupid. There's no standard. Yeah, the standard so people understand you. It's dumb. It's dumb totally and it's obvious. Dumb. It's dumb and it's obvious racism.
It's racist. It's pandering to the Ebonics crowd, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was this survey given to 5th graders, and the survey asked, do you feel comfortable talking about race in the classroom? Do you know anybody of a different...
I just want to say, they've made this point like a dozen times in this conversation. They've said, we're not saying that you don't have to talk about race at all, just it can't be the univariate most important factor. And they never addressed this point. They never responded to this point.
They can't respond to it.
Right.
From racial group. It was like a survey question that you would give to elementary schools, and everybody was attacking it, saying, say, look at the critical race theory. The critical race theory is in our schools. And it was literally just asking them about race. It's the straw man version that I would construct to take down, but it's actually happening. If you talk about race, thanks to the obfuscation of what critical race theory
there
actually is,
there are also 7-year-olds getting in their car on the way home from school saying that they're the worst kind of person who want to rip their skin off because they're privileged.
No, you're talking...
Look at how far you have to go. People want to rip their skin off because they're privileged. That's the degree of separation you have to get from talking about the actual issue.
So like anybody can give a single example. It's like, oh, this innocuous survey, people freaked out about it because, you know, it's a hot topic in the nation, and there was this overreaction right here. But like, I've covered this for years. So I did a story a long time ago on the Edina school district in Minnesota, and I was talking to you about it, I think yesterday. This was the #1 school district in the state of Minnesota, and they were worried about the achievement gap because they wrongly assumed that all gaps are due to racism. They introduced a racial equity curriculum. What ended up happening was the Edina school district as a whole is no longer the #1 school district, and the most negatively impacted students of that school district were the black students, the very same ones that they were trying to help. One of the reasons why the curriculum was so negative for them is because it emphasized like a lot of the things that we see in critical race theory. Like specifically, I believe it was Regina Austin, and I could be wrong on that, so somebody fact check me like a nerd out in the audience on your Google phones, where she was saying that that Ebonics, which they call African American Vernacular English, is a legitimate form of language, and we should teach black kids in that, because trying to get them to conform to a standard American English is a form of black genocide. It's cultural genocide. The problem with that, I mean, you might say, okay, people talk on the street and they have differences from when they talk on the street versus work. That's perfectly normal. And it's like, sure, but school, they should teach you standard English because there's no textbooks written in Ebonics. There's no, in any subject at all.
Curious,
so what we actually are doing,
dominant culture, perhaps?
So what we're...
Maybe we should do our comic in Ebonics too, so we have a second language covered. What do you think, Sitch?
Oh no!
What do you think? Ebonics version. Look at this. Look at this. Sean coming out with another example of leftists shooting themselves in the foot again.
I know.
They always do this. Learn some fucking psychology, you morons. It's just, it's so obvious. All this stuff can be cleared up if you just learn some science.
What we're actually doing is
would you describe that as a dominant culture?
Yeah, this construction of language is an example of a dominant culture, which is one of the things critical race theory goes over.
Yeah, look at that. He's going off. He's like, how dare you? How dare you?
That's perfectly normal. And it's like, sure, but school, they should teach you standard English because there's no textbooks written in Ebonics. Right. There's no, in any subject at all.
Curious,
so what we actually are doing...
a dominant culture, perhaps?
So what we're actually doing is
would you describe that as a dominant culture?
Yeah, this construction...
So they're upset that standard English is a dominant cultural practice in America. Is that what's happening in this conversation?
I know.
That's why I rewinded. I didn't believe that they would actually make this dumb fuck argument.
It's so bizarre too, because a lot of these, you know, changes in language come apart from people wanting to separate themselves from the dominant culture to be fucking cool. They don't want to be the status quo. They want to be fucking hip.
Right.
Yeah. But then at the same time, they get mad because it's like, oh, you got the dominant culture. It's like, what the fuck? Do you want to be edgy and subversive and cool? Or do you want to be the fucking status quo? You can't be both. Come on, moron. It's like you want to complain about the status quo and be edgy at this. Get the fuck out of here.
An example of a dominant culture, which is one of the things critical race theory goes over. There is no basis to say one form of a language is valid and another form is.
Yes, there is. But you have to decide. You have to. I know.
God.
This is how society works. You have to have standards. You have to have fucking standards. Standards that everybody adheres to. Otherwise, you don't have a fucking society. God, this shit is so triggering.
What a moron! What an absolute imbecile!
He wants.
I gotta hear it again. It was so stupid.
Would you describe that as a dominant culture?
Yeah, this construction of language is an example of a dominant culture, which is one of the things critical race theory goes over. There is no basis to say one form of a language is valid and another form is invalid, other than whites have a dominant culture in this language.
Oh my God!
Look, he goes even further.
Fucking moron.
He goes even further. He throws.
Oh my God!
He's like, gotta throw whites under the bus. Well, I'm out of here.
There's no standard. This guy just said there's no standard of which to judge a language as being more valid than another, or a form of type of language. Okay, there is a standard. It's this little thing. I don't know if you're aware of this, Adam. I don't know if you know what the entire fucking point of language is. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this.
It's for communication.
Oh, that's right. The point of language is so you could take those dumb thoughts that you have rattling around in your little meatball brain and then put it through your mouth hole, and other people can know what the fuck you're talking about. So if 90% of the area is using one form of language to communicate, and you have 10% of the population says, fuck you, we want to talk in a completely different form of the language where we bat sticks together and make fart sounds, and everyone says, wow, you look like a fucking moron, no one understands you and you're farting, that's a bad form of language. And then you say, well, there's no basis of which your language is better than ours. No, because that's what everyone's fucking using. If you can't use the language that everyone else is using, you can't communicate with them, and thus the language has no fucking purpose.
God, you sound racist, Sitch. I can't believe you'd say such a thing.
To say, oh my God,
how dare you shit on the stick farters? Okay, that's a real culture that you're denigrating.
Like, it's
don't denigrate the stick farters.
There was some language, I don't remember what it was called, that like decades ago, I think someone tried to come up with a united language that the entire world would like speak. I forget what it was called. And guess what? No one wanted to speak the stupid made-up language that everyone was supposed to speak, okay? And you know what that means? That means that language is stupid and not valuable, okay? That's the criteria. If no one uses the language, it's not valuable language. If all the successful people in your society speak in one way, that's what makes it valuable, okay?
Yes.
That's what makes it valuable, because we as human beings intrinsically imitate other human beings, especially
successful ones.
And so if we say, hey, all the successful people are talking and acting in some specific way, people are going to imitate that. So if you say, fuck being successful, I'm going to talk in a way that's anti-success, well, guess what? You're preparing yourself for failure. Okay?
Yes.
Why are we doing this? This is so stupid. There's no standard. Yeah, the standard so people understand you. Fuck.
Yeah. There's not a lot of understanding going on in this debate, so it makes sense that would be his position.
Well, this is like brain dead cultural relativism 101.
Yeah.
No, every culture, there's no way there's no standards of how to judge cultures, Adam. There's no standards of how to judge languages.
How is someone in a CRT debate live in front of a studio audience and they don't even know about the legislation that they've been passing, the anti-CRT legislation? That's why I'm just saying, like, I mean, I know about that shit. I know about that shit just from the show.
Because it doesn't matter.
I know all about it.
Why would you want to go into debate about CRT?
Did a CRT thing in Florida. He was trying to do an anti-CRT bill.
Adam, I don't understand you, Adam. Why would you want to go into a debate where you say that all these anti-CRT bills are bad, but have actually read the CRT bills. I don't understand why you'd want to do that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's called ethics, okay? Let me tell you how it works here.
Ethics is a losing strategy. I don't know if you've seen who's popular nowadays.
Well, you have a point there, but I like to use it. I know it's quaint and antiquated, and not a lot of people are into ethics these days. They aren't as fashionable as they used to be, but I still like it. You know, it's me. Don't make fun of my identity.
Right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michael. I'm also from fucking Appalachia. We have a different dialect. We spell words funny.
Texas,
we
man.
have not the dominant culture. And guess what? There's an achievement gap. So why do you lean into something like culturally responsive and culturally sustaining teaching that maintain and exaggerate those cultural differences?
Oh, thank you.
Devastating.
And I bet this will never get a response.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
They're not even equipped to understand it.
Right. And James very smartly was able to map it onto a white cultural difference and say, listen, where I'm from, all the white people, they speak with the Southern drawl. They say things a little differently. Okay. We all say things a little differently, but that doesn't map onto the dominant culture, which ends up becoming generally the most successful culture. So why would you want to be teaching people ways to fail?
Yeah. Why would you want to alienate children from the success that they can achieve?
Now, I haven't seen this part of the debate, but I'm going to predict here that this question will not be answered.
Yeah, no.
At all.
Dodge.
Look, the multicultural experiment was a failure.
And if you speak in a language the students do not understand, the will not resonate with the students.
Listen, we can make an app show.
Okay, so
his response is that the kids won't like it, basically.
A bad answer.
Remember when you could beat kids into submission? Those were the good old days. You just be like, you don't like this? How do you like this?
I did not agree with this.
You gotta beat. Sometimes you have to beat kids into submission.
Okay, I'm not sure I agree with this.
Metaphorically, in a video game, right?
There you go.
I know the workarounds. I know the internet workarounds.
You know what? Here, maybe you're onto something. Okay. From now on in school, all kids will participate in a class-wide Minecraft server. And if they ever mouth off to the teacher, the teacher's going to go in and spawn a bunch of creepers in their building, in their base, and they're just going to blow it all the fuck up.
Oh,
and I say, I just killed you in a video game, motherfucker.
That's good.
Pay attention.
You didn't? Were you ever paddled in school? Did you have paddling?
Of course not. What are you?
Of course not. Of course not.
How old do you think I am?
I know.
Jeez.
Well, you're a lot younger than me, but I mean, we had paddling in school when I was super young. Obviously,
that explains Adam.
Yeah, no, they obviously
paddled enough.
They don't have paddling in school anymore. But I always think maybe they. I don't. How do you deal with things if you don't have?
I mean, listen, my parents, they would hit me, but not the teachers.
That was my next question. Did you ever?
My parents would spank me. Yeah.
Did you have paddling at home? Okay, so you've been.
They didn't have a paddle, but yeah.
Right. You've got the belt.
I've been spanked as a child. Yes, I've been spanked. Yes.
Yeah. My parents didn't do any. My parents are basically hippies in California, so I never got any of that stuff.
That explains so much.
I did get some paddling in school though. But that was a Catholic school, so
you got off on it.
On the paddling?
Yeah.
No, of course not. It
was. He doesn't sound very sure about that. Of course not.
It was public. It was effective. I mean, it is a form of public shaming as well.
Of course.
Paddling kids in front of the class and whatnot.
Duper for $20 says she's trying to get them to admit what CRT actually is. It's too bad commies are physically and mentally incapable of telling the truth. Do you two think the crypto racist commies are going to burn out, or are we screwed? I think it will burn out. I do think it will burn out. It's already starting to burn out. We're already seeing the embers form. So I'm optimistic about the future.
I'm optimistic that the debate is structured as it is, where you have two homeless bums on one side of the debate. And and two very reputable scholars on the other side of the debate. And obviously the moderator is very intelligent too, and even she's on the side of these. Let's not go back 100 years and start teaching racism in school again. I mean, that's what we did 100 years ago, right? We basically taught racism in school.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what's infuriating about these CRT debates, is because we want to develop institutions that suppress people's natural tendency towards racism, but we can't really. CRT is what's standing in the way of that. It's fucking awful.
They're saying, fuck you, we need to use racism to our advantage.
Yeah, exactly. How is this not the racist Southern strategy all over again?
It is.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible.
Argument about how every dialect is just as valid as another dialect. But here's the thing. English is an international language of business. In India and everywhere else where they're teaching English, they're teaching standard American English. There is a wealth of scholarship throughout decades, centuries actually, written in English.
How racist is that? Like they will teach Indians in India standard American English, but we can't teach blacks in America standard American English.
No. Why can't
fucking racist is that?
Listen, I'm tired of these racist Indians learning standard English. They need to be learning Ebonics, okay?
Oh my God, that would be the ultimate troll. let's tell India that this is the new standard American English. Come on, that'll be great.
There you go. You're worried about the Indian achievement gap in America. There you go.
Yeah, I cannot think of anything funnier than Ebonics in an Indian accent. Come on, that's comedy gold.
You racist.
Please do it. Make it happen. Watch out, you're gonna get some super chats.
I know. Look what you've done.
This is why the Scottish, when they had their intellectual reformation, they needed to learn English, because in order to grasp the knowledge, they needed to learn appropriately the languages where the knowledge was all captured and written down. If there were this length of scholarship in Ebonics, then this wouldn't be an issue. The fact is there isn't, and this is one of the reasons why black literacy lags behind in this nation. So you're advocating for a policy in order to solve a gap that by its very nature will lead to greater gaps in the future. And we
leftists shooting themselves in the foot again. I fucking love it. I fucking love it. The three things that John McWhorter talks about, lifting the black community out of like eliminating these wealth disparities. Number 2, reading programs. Fucking reading programs.
We saw that in Edina.
So, do we see how you can have 2 points here?
Thank you.
So, do you see how you can have 2 points here? There is a dominant culture, and you have to assimilate into it in order to succeed. Nobody has to be evil for that. But it is a thing that it is worth talking about. So, for example, do you agree that it's really stupid to ban traditionally black hairstyles in school?
So, well, before we get into that, which I would agree is stupid, the problem is that they want to act like there's some alternative. There's always going to be a dominant culture that you have to assimilate into to succeed to some extent. And now you obviously don't want that dominant culture to be an oppressive culture. That's what should actually be advocated for. And that's what was advocated for with civil rights reformation and civil rights movement under liberalism. So we can't have the dominant culture be oppressive. Now they want to live in this magical world where there's no such thing as a dominant culture, and everyone has a magical culture that's completely different, or is, shades of difference, and yet we're all going to somehow be able to communicate effectively and get along. And it's completely not true.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. I can't imagine living in that society.
I don't see this. Is there a group of people that are advocating that we have to teach like redneck speak, instead of standard English? Like, why are we not teaching redneck speak instead of standard English? It's like, it's dumb. It's dumb, totally, and it's obvious. It's dumb and it's obvious racism.
It's racist. It's pandering to the Ebonics crowd, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Assimilate into it in order to succeed. Nobody has to be evil for that. But it is a thing that it is worth talking about. So, for example, do you agree that it's really stupid to ban traditionally black hairstyles in school? You would agree with that, right?
I don't care what people's hairs look like.
Okay, so
I'm wearing a shirt. Justin, I'm wearing a shirt that says "based," which was a black slang term. I'm okay with the dominant culture merging in a melting pot type situation. It's not that the dominant culture doesn't move by virtue. Look how many things. I mean, freaking Taco Tuesday is a microaggression now because everybody loves tacos, which happened to
Tacos are great. You like tacos, right? Tacos are amazing.
not come
Explains. This is what explains microaggressions. Is because they don't want the cultures to mix together. And because once the cultures mix together and become, assimilated, then you can't unify around your identity and weaponize it.
You can't basically cater to a racial class for votes, which is the problem.
Right. So like if, because remember, they do this weird shit where they'd say, oh, you'd see a white actress and she'd have a quote unquote black hairstyle. And they would criticize that. Say, that's cultural appropriation, it's a microaggression, which if you're thinking clearly, logically, you'd say, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't you want popular people who are part of the dominant culture to adapt things that are part of your culture, which would make them acceptable to the masses?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you want to popularize quote unquote black hairstyles, the best way to do it would be to have celebrities, white celebrities,
it's called a celebrity endorsement.
Right. So you say, but wait a minute, why are they against that? Because if that happens, then they can't use that as a weapon against you. Because the whole strategy here is to say, we're going to unify around our race, around our political, and use it as a political identity, and we're going to say we're the victims here. And they can't say they're the victims if everyone is doing what they're doing. If they become part of the dominant culture, they can no longer victimize themselves and use their identity as this victim status.
Why are you keeping us in suspense, man? Taco Tuesday. Are you for it or against it?
Listen, I'm for Szechuan chicken Thursdays, okay? More of I like the Asian food more than the Mexican food. Okay.
Mexican food is my favorite. Asian food is my second favorite. Yeah.
Asian is number one. Okay?
No. Nothing beats tacos.
Cuban food is better than Mexican food. Okay.
Cuban food?
Yes.
I don't know that I've ever really had Cuban food.
Yeah, I figured.
Cuban food.
I figured.
Yeah. Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.